Saturday morning to you and welcome into Weekend Recharge. I'm LaRosa.
And I'm Paul Goodlow. Winter officially begins 1 week from Monday, but yes, so much of the eastern U.S. it is so warm. In fact, so warm the cherry blossoms are blooming again in Washington, D.C. Yes, it's
double-edged sword, right? So many people are kind of okay with the delay of the chill, but it is just weird. So you look at the map, and this says it all, and this is just for today to give you an idea of the big stories we're covering you. Big, huge, 15 to 30 degrees above average. Records will be falling. They have already. And then you have the severe weather and, of course, the wind and the snow, and it's not just the plains. We have more of it coming into the northwest, so stormy conditions continue there. This is all what we'll be tracking here over the next couple of days. Believe it or not, we'll talk about inches of snow and inches of rain.
Yeah, but in between those two, and we have the warmth as well to the east, but also we have the risk of severe weather. Let's bring in our storm specialist, Carl Parker, to talk about how we have a risk of tornadoes today across the southern plains in Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
To 12 inches. Now, you look at that radar and you say, okay, nothing's going on. But it's always tricky to get the radar beams to pick up snow in the mountains because, you know, you have the elevation. So take our word for it, and that camera confirms we do have snowfall in parts of Wyoming. And we certainly have it from New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona. What I love too, Paul, Phoenix to Flagstaff, about a 2-hour drive, right? So you go from nothing to some snow coming down.
But also important for travelers because you have I-10 goes to Phoenix, more rain. I-40 goes to Flagstaff, all snow. So heads up for travelers. It also goes through New Mexico and West Texas as well. I-40 is probably going to be the less preferred route because it's a high elevation road for a good chunk of that stretch, and they still have more snow coming with our system also bringing snow not only to Wyoming but to Colorado right now.
And it's just cold enough, right? So we have this dip, and it's not this Arctic air, but you have temps in the 20s and the 30s out ahead of it, that crazy warmth. But right in the middle, the battle zone is where we have our strengthening low, our boundaries. Again, cold enough for snow, even a little bit of rain. But watch the low, Paul. You got it following the train track of the warm front, and it's going to be moving to the north and east.
Yeah, and right along that low, it's strong enough to actually create enough cold air to give you some of the heaviest snow right under that. And again, places like Denver, we'll see about 3 to 5 west of town, 3 east of town. But it's not going to be a huge storm for you, but much bigger right here out towards the western plains as we head on through tonight and tomorrow. Talking about western areas of Kansas, maybe Goodland, maybe a foot of snow there.
Yeah, and some of that, if you do the math, will be coming down at pretty good snow rates, which again makes it difficult for travel. By Monday, it gets to the warm side where it's mostly rain, but here you go. Like you said, a good amount of snow. You have maybe as much as a foot, as you mentioned, in Goodland. Also, the Rockies picking up anywhere from 5 to 8 inches.
Guaranteed white Christmas.
Yes,
right there.
Exactly. Well,
has to be warm enough in the fall for them to bloom again.
Yeah, I saw lilac tree bloom pictures out of Boston.
They are
pretty
confused,
crazy. All right, we got a lot of record potentials. Some of them have already been broken. Amazing. Well, new this morning, after 2 weeks of work, the final draft of potentially historic global deal to fight climate change has been finalized in Paris. Too funny. All right, it is 5:30 as Weekend Recharge rolls on. I'm LaRosa.
And I'm Paul Goodlow. Well, the calendar says December 12th, right? But it looks and feels more like spring out there versus late fall. The trees are blooming in freakish warmth, including Washington, D.C.'s famous cherry blossom.
And the greens look so green. It's stunning. All right, obviously one of our big stories here, one of the top 3 that we're covering for you is that heat, but we've got the other side of it too, the snow, and it's going to be piling up. We're forecasting in some spots at least a foot of snow, and on top of that, cold winds. And then we have the warm winds and stormy, damaging winds potentially here today with our severe outlook all the way from Wichita down to San Antonio and Houston, and it's not just going to be today. We'll talk about tomorrow's risk as well. And then, of course, this crazy map for today. Everywhere you see a pin, a potential record high, and we've seen not only record highs broken already, Paul, but record warm low temperatures.
Yeah,
so
seriously
it's
warm
all
out
over.
there. We got the warmth, we got the snow in the middle. We have the risk of severe weather. In fact, severe weather expert Carl Parker joins us now from the lab with the latest on these storms. And Carl, there's also an overnight tonight threat for severe weather.
Yeah,
a lot of activities going on across the Mile High.
Yeah, but you know, it's a Saturday. You want to get out and about. Let's look at Denver, kind of some of these stats here. Snow since September 1st, 11.3 inches average that you see, about 16. So we're a little bit behind. Last snowfall was on November 20th. So again, as Paul mentioned, today you're going to see some snow. It's out of here by tomorrow, but you do have to get out and about. So watch your roll on I-70 later on with some of that snow beginning to fill in. And as it moves to the east, it's going to be heavy at times. times. And the key too is that we are marginally cold, right? We don't have this cold Arctic air mass, but it is cold enough for snow. And so we do have a number of these winter storm watches up in the lighter blue, the winter weather advisories there in the darker blue, and some of those warnings. Now, as we get into this weekend, right, it's really this twofold system where the warmth and the humidity on one side is feeding this area of low pressure, and that dip in the jet stream behind it has the cold air. You combine the moisture, and that's where you get some areas with the snow and some of that rain, and sometimes right on that line is where we see some of the heaviest snow. We'll keep an eye on these. So yeah, it's warm in the east, and you can see with this graphic here, it tells the story. Today, everywhere you see a pin, the potential for record highs to fall. And if you're counting, it's in 22 states. So it's not just on the high side. We've seen some record warm lows, and we'll continue to see that trend as well. It's going to be a warm one.
Yeah, we're talking, what, 2 weeks before Christmas as well. Pretty wild here. We also have some warmth all across the east, and not just, you know, above average. We're talking record-setting temperatures here across much of the eastern half of the...
There's like sort of that surprise.
I had my money on North Dakota.
Nice, nice.
All right, well, hey, Christmas less than 2 weeks away, but it sure doesn't look or feel like it right now.
We got record highs possible in nearly 24 states today, from Texas to Massachusetts. So what are your odds of getting a white Christmas? For that, we turn to our winter weather expert, Tom. 1st December here at the Weather Channel, we had snowfall, and we had a white Christmas, and then my kids were like, oh, why isn't it snowing this year?
Great.
I know.
But
so
the difference is that year it actually snowed later that night. I mean, it wasn't Christmas morning, it was Christmas night.
Yeah.
I still call it a white Christmas.
It's still awesome, and I have a little snowman picture, but not expected in Atlanta this year.
Your chance basically across the nation is slim to none, because most of the population lives in the east of the Mississippi, and we're not seeing it at all. Upstate New York, parts of northern New England, yeah, but of course you have to the west to have a better chance of seeing a white Christmas.
Yeah, but even that's shaded possible.
Possibly.
Because, you know, the Great Lakes, they're warm. It's a little crazy. Okay, but we have snow falling in Denver right now down towards Albuquerque, and that's kind of where we're at for the next 2 days. That's where the snow is going to be. Yeah,
our winter storm coming through there. This is going to be the target zone for our best chance of snow coming through there as we head throughout today, and also lingering into next week as well.
Snowball fights and ice castles.
But if you're looking to up your game and be the one person in the neighborhood to have a lot of friends at your house, well, LL Bean, well, might have just the thing for you.
And for the 90% of us who won't have snow, it works great with mud ball fight. I mean, that's a new holiday tradition.
A muddy Christmas. What do you try to start here?
I'm just trying to, you know, make the best of it, because that's what we're going to...
Hashtag muddy Christmas, that's really? All right. Well, hey, you know what? It's going to be unseasonably warm for some football tomorrow.